this conflict initially, as it's starting out, as sort of a tit for tat kind of conflict, where they're just sort of like at the beginning of a boxing or MMA match. They're just kind of feeling each other out,
Where they're
doing
just
some
sort of
jabs,
like
maybe some
at the
leg
beginning
kicks
of
or
a
something,
boxing
boxing
or
or MMA match. They're just kind of feeling each
like
other out,
Oh,
doing
there's
some
a.
sort of
jabs,
like maybe some
at the
leg
beginning
kicks
of
or
Oh
a
no!
something.
boxing or
Oh,
MMA
here we go.
match. They're just
There's
kind of
a
feeling.
bit of an issue. All right, fixed it. I had the own
Okay,
streams replay playing in the background. Sorry about that technical issue. Uh,
okay.
yeah, pretty much have to repeat all of that because there was a giant echo for about the last minute that I just fixed.
Oh no, okay, no worries. Yeah, so we were just talking, about how this kind of is shaping up, and I mean, basically, they're both kind of saber rattling. By Iran is saying that if Israel attacks them again, they will retaliate even more aggressively. And so what we're seeing right now, these sort of small exchanges, is what many have referred to as a tit for tat kind of conflict, where they're doing these sorts of mini exchanges, kind of similar to how at the first sort of rounds of a boxing and or MMA match, you get your opponents feeling each other out with jabs, maybe a few leg kicks,
Yeah.
and doing some dukes and stuff like that. So you know they're and it's also important to that they're testing each other, seeing how they'll react, and studying their reaction, and just kind of gaining more and more data, and watching their movements before they actually try and initiate anything really serious. I mean, I imagine the Iran's attack on Israel was incredibly informational for the Iranians in terms of how the Israelis would react. And I think, long story short, it does not look good for Israel, at least as far as we can see, in terms of how they would respond to an actual, full on attack full of, thousands of drones and, hundreds
Well,
of, yeah.
that's the thing though. Israel would have been pretty screwed if it wasn't for the Americans and the British and the Jordanese shooting down most of these drones and whatnot before they even reached Israel. If that didn't
Mm.
happen, it wouldn't have been looking good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is why it's really, in the Bible it talks about, powers and principalities. That's our real fight. I just want to do a bit of I guess, a segue for a bit here, for a few seconds. I mean, without their allies, they really are screwed. They talk big game, but that's only because they have all these Middle East and Western allies backing them. That's where most of their strength is. So it's really up to people, primarily in the United States and Western Europe, to actually really try to pressure their representatives to try and contest this support that politicians are giving them all over the show, because this really is not our fight and we should have nothing to do with it. But yeah, it's mm,
Yeah, but it looks like I was expecting something bigger. I don't know how many missiles the Israelis actually launched at Iran, and if lots of them were shot down, at least two or three. About three of them seemed to get through. One of them
mm,
seemed to hit nothing. Like this one just seemed to have hit a desert, so that probably doesn't count.
mm,
So
mm.
the,
Yeah,
the the base is largely intact. I mean, at these buildings in the before and after, not much difference is going on here. So the base is pretty much intact except for this radar station. It's probably hit by like an anti-radiation missile or something. It's hard to say.
yeah, no, it is hard to say, but at the end of the day, it's quite clear that they're just feeling each other out. They're testing each other's defenses and how they will respond. So this is,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, I mean, it does show because it seems like Israel at least launched some ICBMs at Iran. It does show that the ICBMs can get through to Iran. So obviously, because Israel is a legally armed nuclear state, they can threaten that now because they show that their missiles can get through their air defenses.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, certainly, certainly. Yeah. And, with enough of a barrage, yeah, it could well and truly overwhelm them. And not just that, but overwhelm them economically as well. If they're to keep this up, I mean, after the last barrage of drones and ICBMs that we saw, that cost them their the Iron Dome defenses were like $1 billion. So that's an incredible strain on the economy,
Yeah,
and
well, I
they
mean,
have
it's not a strain on their economy; it's a strain on the American economy. The Israelis aren't going to pay for rearming those.
no, they don't care. They don't give a crap. And Bibi Netanyahu has been quite clear about draining the cash cow that is the United States and then scrunching it up and throwing it away like a piece of trash. That's how they view the United States. But yeah, certainly it's a huge strain on America's economy, and by the way, the global economy, because this of course has reverberating effects throughout the world, and yeah, it is. They really need to think of something else in order to uh, because this is a real weakness on many levels. I think the whole world kind of sees that now. Um, I mean, it's sophisticated. It does repel a significant amount, but without bunkers, or how are you going to contest this? I don't know. I don't know how you're going to repel these attacks. There's not much you can really do about it. Another thing is, yeah, what one way it's a test is that they didn't fit the ICBMs that did manage to get through with nuclear warheads. So this was not an attack that was intended for destruction of Israel. Again, they're just Iran's just seeing what Israel will do.
Well, that's
Um,
the thing. Some of Iran's missiles did get through as well, even though they did fire a pretty large amount. It's unknown how many missiles the Israelis shot because they're not really telling us.
yeah,
So,
even yeah, even if Israel did nuke Iran, it would actually. I don't know what the warning systems are like in Iran. I presume they have their own intelligence, but I guess I hope that there will be some sort of warning system for civilians. But they talk about the tunnel system in Gaza, which reportedly is like 100 kilometers of tunnels. Which I was quite blown back by. That's an incredible amount of work, human labor to create that network of tunnels. But
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and I think Iran is like many magnitudes more extensive than the Palestinian tunnel network. So as long as the Iranian civilians, and as long as they have these bunkers and underground
Yeah.
networks and tunnels, even if Israel nukes them, I mean it'll be incredibly damaging, but they at least they'll survive, and
Well,
it is yeah.
I don't know how extensive the Iranian sort of tunnels and bunker network is, but I don't know if you'll be able to house the entire civilian population in
No. Mm,
how long does it take an ICBM to get there? 10 minutes? Like, it's not
mm,
that much warning.
no.
So
Yeah.
it would still be it would be a massive loss of life and infrastructure if that did happen. But I don't think it will because there would be like an escalation like so massive. There's pretty much no coming back from that. Israel would be basically doomed.
Yeah.
It would lose pretty much every minutia of support it as if they randomly nuked Iran, killed
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people.
Certainly. Yeah, it's a time we really need to pay very close attention to what happens, because, of course, historically we know that Israel has, ducked out of what it believes is theirs, and they've come back and reclaimed, rebuilt their nation. They're very flexible, so you almost have like another Israeli state in Russia, basically. There's so many of them there, and they have quite the stronghold there, might I say, especially in terms of political influence and business dealings with Moscow and the Kremlin. So that's something to consider as well. And all in all, what they're doing is, at the end of the day, the broader thousand-foot view strategy is to leverage a conflict like this between Israel, Russia, and China working together to create a final death blow or nail in the coffin for the United States to because if some conflict really did happen that really caused Israel or Iran to escalate, again reverberating effects throughout the economy, and all kinds of destruction would ensue, and it would not be pretty. This would be a very problematic time. But
Well,
so that it's mhm.
Israel's actually profited from the strikes. They've lost about 1 billion. We'll be generous and say they shot $1 billion worth of missiles back at Iran. So they spent $2 billion, 1 billion on defense, 1 billion on attack. If that, but they've still made $24 billion profit off the American taxpayer. So
Yeah,
works out well
exactly.
for them.
Yeah, no, it certainly does, and this is look, this is what Americans have to look at.
Don't you think it's crazy? This Ukrainian
Mm,
aid bill was like stuck in limbo for 6 months.
yeah,
Israel gets attacked once, they add on an extra like $10 billion for Israel because I think it was used to be like 16 before that. Then
mm,
half the Republicans passed it anyway that originally opposed it because it gave Israel extra money.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a very good point, and it just goes to show, the Ukraine is and Taiwan as well is actually strategically important to the United States and the West at large. But I don't really see. Well, of
Well,
course,
Israel isn't.
Israel.
That's not
Pardon me.
Israel's not strategically important to anyone except Israel.
Yeah, yeah, well put, well put. That's exactly what it is, and they, of course, cause a lot more problems than they're worth, and we never should have gotten involved in this way in the Middle East. And communists deposed the Shah, and because of Israeli Soviet sort of involvement in the Middle East, the place is a complete hellhole. And then, by extension, the neo-Trotskyites, once the Russian forces receded, it's okay because the neo-Trotskyites continued on their communist agenda throughout the Middle East, but basically, yeah, turning it into even more of a hellhole. So, that's kind of what we're facing, and that's the exploits of the results we have of supporting this really, quite frankly, evil country. And yeah, it's we should be supporting these other nations, not Israel. But yeah, that just goes to speak about the speak volumes of the Republicans and Democrats, and really we need a completely new government in the United States.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that they send nearly $100 billion to foreign countries, yet the U.S. border is still wide open,
Yeah.
with nothing being done about it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or the drug situation with the fentanyl and the zombie drug, whatever that is, which is, of course, that is a border problem, right? That the drugs are getting through.
Yeah, well, they
So
don't just teleport into America, so it
mm.
has to come through somewhere.
And the Chinese are actually using that as an avenue to. I mean, the Chinese are contributing. They are actually the main ones contributing to the fentanyl crisis. They know it's causing all these issues and problems, and yeah. So that's been proven. Documents show that, and they what have they sent? They've sent like 250,000 military aged men through the Darien Gap, the wide open border where people can just walk through,
Yeah,
basically. And many of these Chinese men are operatives trained in that they're reports. I've been hearing reports of they've been trained to mess with water systems, and I think cyber attacks, I believe it was. I'll have to recheck that, but yeah. So basically, create infrastructural damage, and we've already seen that. If you cast your mind back a couple of years to all the farms and food processing plants that have been burned down. Um, which have been caused by planes randomly crashing into them and things just spontaneously combusting. It's like yeah, that's just like a normal thing. Like even some of them were like, oh, it wasn't even just one plane; it was like two planes at once or something
Yeah,
crashing into. Yeah, just
that's normal, right?
ridiculous stuff. Yeah, and this is exactly as Alexander Surov explained in his book. This is the Grey Terror that will soon
Yeah, but
metastasize into Pink
it's
Terror.
nuts though. 95 billion. That's a lot of money.
Mm. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like
Oh
10
yeah.
years worth of the FBI budget or something like that. Not
Yeah.
not that the FBI should even exist, but that's a
Mm.
lot. And the what is it? 20? How much was it for Israel? 26 million. That's like 8 years of Israel's
Yeah.
usual budget. So
Yeah.
Israel's profited massively
Mm.
over these strikes over the last 2 weeks.
Mm. And they can see this and they're aware of this, so they can actually, being cognizant of this, they could possibly exploit this if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it's good that they're finally getting tough on Ukraine and Taiwan. But this Israel, however, in terms of Ukraine, it's a bit late in the game. They've already captured another major uh, stronghold in the Ukraine, which was very strategically important. It would have been good
The
if they did
Russians
this.
captured it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
a,
Divka, or are you talking about a different city?
a different place.
There's one of
I,
them.
I,
Okay.
I think it was like called. Yeah, sorry, I don't read. It looked like Capri. It looked like the name of the place was Capri Sun, and I'm
Capri
not.
Sun.
Yeah, I can't read Ukrainian, but maybe some of you know of it. But yeah, it was a recent place that fell to Russian occupation now, and
Well, that's the thing with because it's an attrition war, right? Once you start gaining that momentum, very slowly you start gaining more and more and more. It sort of like escalates exponentially. So if they
mm,
start to get that momentum again, like Russia or potentially Ukraine or whatever,
mm,
it can actually cause a collapse of the front line. It hasn't really happened yet, but you are seeing it more. Russians are getting more and more gains compared to a year ago, where they were basically getting nothing.
yeah.
Now they're at least capturing a town or two every month.
Yeah,
So
it's very unfortunate. It's extremely unfortunate. Where was NATO? Where was the US? So but
well,
the Ukrainians.
they were bickering over the $60 million in the
Oh
house
god.
for literally nearly a year.
Mm,
Since like
mm,
August of last
yeah,
year, they've been bickering over this aid bill.
yeah, yeah. No, that's right. That's right. And the Ukrainians have been saying, look, we don't want troops. We just give us the equipment and artillery we need, and we'll be able to repel them. But Macron and uh, all these NATO people, they've just been completely crap when it comes to helping the Ukrainians out. And people should. And Macron said he would supply troops to Ukraine, and he's not going to do that.
Oh, I don't
He's
think he's going to do that. That
no,
seems.
it's shooting himself in the foot. It's disingenuous. He knows it's disingenuous because you know,
I think that was a
he,
bluff. I don't think he was ever going to do that.
no, 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 he wasn't. But yeah, it's yeah, that everybody has to be extremely suspicious of all of this. We'll see. Even now, I don't trust them. Like, we'll see where this 95 billion ends up and
95
what actually
trillion.
happens.
That's what.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
that's what
really.
Israel need. They need $95 trillion, not 95 billion. Stop being
Give everything,
anti-Semitic.
Goyim. Yeah. Yeah.
We got Shiv in chat. He says Trank is a zombie drug that rots your skin. It's true.
Mm,
It's a pretty bad. There's all sorts of like poisons coming over the US border,
yeah.
let alone like
Creepy.
degenerates and like criminals and cartel
Mm,
members and whoever else.
mm,
Low
mm,
lifes, really.
yeah. Yeah. No, China calls that the looting process. They say that the looting of America will begin through people like this through the southern border, and then uh, then once they've become weak enough, then they will move to claim the 48 states that Russia and China have bargained on. Um, yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Mm,
Israel's happy they got their aid. They're all sorted. They can continue their war in Gaza because their army was getting like bogged down in
mm,
Gaza.
mm.
They were getting they were getting
Oh
ambushed
yeah,
all the time. There was casualties.
they're getting
It
their
was
butts
hard going.
kicked.
Yeah, it was hard going. So they're pretty happy that they got
Mm.
28 billion dollars worth of military aid.
Yeah, yeah. This is totally unsustainable. Yeah, we'll see. And this is Biden is in big trouble regarding this because he's got an election coming up. So seeing how poorly that he has administered, or how poorly he has allowed this war in Gaza to go, really has made a lot of liberals fall out with him, and his chances are not looking so good regarding this. A lot of lefties are actually pissed off, and there was that. Interestingly, there was that Trump rally in Pennsylvania. They were shouting out Genocide Joe," in reference to
Yeah.
that. And Trump, looked around. He let them chant for like 10 seconds or,
Were
or
they talking
something.
about Gaza with that? Like, was that actually in reference to Gaza, or was it in reference to like something like more esoteric? Like, what did they actually mean?
Yeah, no, it was in reference to Gaza. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if you heard something different, but yeah, it was
Well,
about
so what makes sense?
Palestine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about Palestine. Yeah, but yeah, so there were, yeah, and then he turned to the crowd and he said, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. So he acknowledges that, and yeah, it's interesting. A
Well,
Polish.
the thing is, though, Trump's been
Mm,
sort of vague with the whole Gaza thing. Yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah,
just
yeah.
his like take has been, "Balls in charge. This would have never happened." That's sort of like all he really says. So it'll be interesting to hear an actual
That's your Trump
policy.
voice.
Yeah, that's my Trump voice.
Okay, sweet as.
It sounds just like him. So, anyways, it'll be interesting to actually hear like a policy.
Mm.
So far, Trump hasn't really said anything.
Yeah, I sort of, I'm gonna be a bit bullish and say I kind of believe him. If you look at how Trump treats dictators of the world, even just a handshake, he literally grabbed Kim Jong Un's hand and like pulled him toward him and looked at him directly in the eye. And I think he did the same with someone else. I'm not sure if it was Medvedev or who it was, but he does the same thing where they go for the handshake. He grabs their hand really tightly and he literally pulls them in and then looks at them and smiles. Like it's Chad, man. It's Chad. So I actually do kind of believe him when he says, if I were in charge, this would have never happened. That's my Trump voice.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty good.
that's all right. Yeah. Maybe I should just do
I
your
think
one.
it's. I think it's. Nah, I think your one's better than my one.
Yeah, you got to kind of like yeah, I don't know how you, but anyway, yeah, I kind of believe that actually, and yeah, well, just demonstrated. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with he's going to have a lot of crap to clean up if he does get in, but for right
Well, just
now,
I mean, just the stuff on the border is already bad enough. Let alone all this stuff with Ukraine, Gaza, Taiwan. It's getting out of
yeah,
control, really. But
yeah,
anyways, we should probably move on. We've been talking about that for about over 20 minutes.
mm, mm.
So I guess this is one of the other topics we're going to talk about. Surprise, surprise, Andrew Tate's being retarded.
Yeah.
It's probably like not that much of a surprise, but let's see what he has to say. We got Nick Griffin. If you know anyone who still thinks Tate is some sort of persecuted hero, make sure they see this. This vile, hedonistic, anti-white narcissist, con man, is clearly working with an agenda of usual suspects. Step forward, Iggy Semwell. How do you say that? Semmelweis.
Semmelweis, yeah,
Semmelweis. To build the destructive work of the feminists to create a gap between, to build on the destructive work of the
yeah, true,
feminists to build a gap between sexes. On top
true,
of all the other divisions they care to create and exploit to weaken people's nations. Well, that's right. I mean, before we
yeah,
watch it, I mean, obviously Andrew Tate, he's like a pornographer,
yeah,
like a weird brown sex trafficker. It's
Muslim,
basically, yeah, Muslim con man.
mm,
And, because he's like background, he's sort of retarded as well. So his IQ is probably not that high. Maybe like mid-90s. Let's see what he has to say when he's talking to Tucker.
Being the head of an organized
charged
with? That's a really good question. I'm charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls to make TikTok videos.
They face charges which include human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women.
OnlyFans is the best hustle in the world.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No. They're accusing me of using the lover boy method, coercing them by being nice. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You fuck the girl. After you fuck the girl, you do the PhD test. So yeah, on CobraTake.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is Pimp and Hose degree.
Clever.
And
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
Oh, it's disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gross. And these are like young women from like poor families.
No, I mean they're from like Romania.
Yeah,
particularly the most richest place in the world.
That's right. Yeah.
In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear from a girl. And this is where your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl. Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me. This girl's like, okay, well, I'll try it. Put both girls on camera together the first day, so the new girl could sit there and just sit with the other girl and get drunk. Give him a bottle of vodka.
First night that I worked for him, Andrew bought me like 5 bottles of wine. So I got completely drunk because I'd never done webcam work. So I was very, very nervous.
And that's how I got rich. So that teaches everything I know from start to finish about not only getting girls, not only obtaining them, but retaining them. Because that's a completely different game as well.
That's not obtaining.
Over
that's
time,
like
I just built up this big
yeah. Oh, he's a pimp.
Empire
That's
of
what he
webcam
is.
girls.
Yeah, that's what he meant.
One point, I had
That's what it's
4
called.
locations,
Pimping
75
hose,
girls
whatever he
working for
called
me.
it. Pimping
I
hose.
take around half of the money. Around 50%. Around 50%.
They thought they were on 50%. And I said that the disparity is because of taxes.
He would just pay me a flat fee of £15 an hour.
We got to the point where we had these guys falling in love with my models, serious, big time in love, right? Sending crazy money. And they were convinced they were going to meet the chick. This is almost where I kind of felt bad. Because they were like, can we meet? I've sent you $200,000.
But when you look at the money
Holy
that I was
shit.
actually bringing in, it just doesn't even
It's like a
scratch
super
the
simp.
surface.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like my whole
no
I used
scruples.
sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Were there any other
Pimp in this like literal sense of a pimp.
I saw him
Oh yeah, well
smack
he is.
girls
Yeah.
with a belt.
Some ideas? You want some ideas?
What is this?
That's right, lock the door, you. You knew I was going to beat the out of you. If you behaved, I wouldn't have to hit you, would I?
Wow, this is just disgusting.
Yeah.
Get out.
But yeah.
You can't stay in there forever.
Once again, this is an IQ test, right? Because any guy who's bad with women.
I think we've seen enough there. Well, you get your point. A lot of people say this guy's like some right-wing hero. He's going to save. He's going to save men from being like weak homosexuals or whatever. But yeah, the guy's literally a pornographer. Extorts people, lies to women to extort them into working on his pornography empire on OnlyFans. Real disgusting behavior. And this is the guy.
Don't forget his rabbi handler.
Yeah, as Nick Griffin mentioned.
A literal
Iggy Semwells or whatever you call it.
Iggy Semmelweis, he was a literal self-proclaimed Kabbalistic, Jewish wizard who practiced Kabbalah, and he would have all these sort of like play all these psychological games with this kind of work that he was carrying out, and very very weird guy, but a literal Jewish rabbi wizard was Andrew Tate's boss. So I mean, this is who they put out in front of the right. I mean, this is, let's just call it what it is. This is grifting at its highest order. He saw money just like he
Well, it's
saw
not
money
grifting.
in
It's
the
literally pimping. Like
yeah.
it's a profession that has existed for centuries.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the worst kind of most scumbaggy, kind of gross, low, kind of getting poor Romanian girls with not a lot of family. I mean, how is this different to the tactics that the Muslims used in Telford and Rotherham? And yeah, so they're taking these poor women and just manipulating them and abusing them. Yeah, it's really screwed up. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
And another thing is oh jeez, I actually forgot what I was gonna say there, but yeah, I'll remember it later.
Yeah, well,
But
anyways, the reason why Tate's come up is he just made an absolute brain dead retarded post. It's like,
yeah,
dear white men, you're fricked. You're being replaced because none of you have children. Even those you are bitching about the replacement online, little girls do not find the gumption. More vulgarness.
yeah,
If I see white men bragging about having 5 kids as it's some sort of achievement, and then he goes on about Muslims having a whole bunch of kids or whatever, but it's realistically, when you look at the actual fertility rates, the Middle East isn't actually doing much better than Europe right now. There's a lot of places like Iran. Iran has a fertility rate well below replacement. They're at 1.5. That's below European countries like Denmark, Sweden, the Czech Republic,
mm,
sort of about the same level as Poland, and and that's sort of on the lower end. And then you got places like Malaysia, they're well below 2. You've got Morocco, who are just above 2, but they're dropping. You've got Saudi Arabia, that's just above 2 and dropping. So the fertility rate in the Middle East isn't even that high. And he's going on about how our Muslims having 6 million kids each. Oh, Islam will dominate the world. But it's in reality, that's not even happening in the Middle East.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, and this is what I mean by him he's a pimp, but he's also a grifter. I mean, this is who I mean he made his wealth through a Jewish rabbi, being a pimp, and then he comes out onto the right wing scene out of nowhere, and he starts these basic right wing talking points, so somewhere around COVID, I think it was, and people just lap this kind of stuff up, especially young men. But it's like, man,
Yeah, well, I mean, I sort of get it. It's like Andrew Tate's oh, be a man, go to the gym. Very basic takes. I'll go to the
yeah,
gym, be a man, be confident.
mm, mm,
Takes anyone could have come up with. But then you look at the normal, obviously mainstream media take where it's oh, you should be a homosexual, be a tranny. Obviously, it's better than that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
at the end of the day, the guy's he produces pornography. He's a pimp.
yeah,
He's a human trafficker.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he's like a brown Muslim that still hates white people. He's talking about how white people are being replaced, living on his own planet where every Muslim's having 10 kids each, which isn't even remotely close to true.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. I wonder why that is. Why there's that sudden change? Is it because America managed to export friends to
That's probably it. I mean, a part of it probably is the cultural
yeah,
rot of the Hollywood. That is part of it.
mm,
But a part of it's the same problems that are in the West or in the Middle East: expensive housing, cost of living,
mm,
urbanization. These are all happening in the Middle East as they also happen in the West. And like Iran's got a level of fertility rate below most European countries. And Malaysia has a
mm.
fertility rate below most European countries. Saudi Arabia is just barely above European countries. I mean, there's places like Egypt which still have pretty high fertility rates, but even Egypt's fertility rate is dropping pretty rapidly.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting because yeah, I think a lot of us were under the impression that yeah, that they were having all these kids and stuff, but that it's
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're
comparable.
stupid and you think it's the Middle Ages where,
Mm,
every Muslim has 12 kids each, but it's not the 18th century anymore.
yeah,
The
yeah,
fertility rate in the Middle East is barely above Europe, and it's in some places it's lower, and it's dropping faster than it is in Europe. So
amazing. Mm,
within
mm,
10 years, you might have the Middle East have a lower fertility rate than Europe because they've got problems that the West doesn't have. Because as the West has problems, but you've still got countries like Denmark that have somewhat functioning social services. In places like Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, that's not going to be the case because these
Yeah.
places are, they're corrupt like oligarchies.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just terrible. It's just all people addicted to drugs, trannies everywhere. Just yeah, so much social decay, and yeah, it's really it's bad. It's bad. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So this guy, I mean, does this guy look like someone just based on what he's saying there? And I've seen other posts that he's made, uh, like this, and it's like, how do you look at this and go,
Yeah, it's not the
yeah,
first time
this.
he's done it. He's done this before where he goes like, oh, us Muslims, we're going to outbreed all the white people, even though,
Yeah,
their fertility rate's pretty much on par with Europe. And
but just he like attacks white people in a way that's like really gross and kind of like yeah, very
oh, it's very
it's a lot of
vulgar.
hatred,
Yeah.
vulgar and hateful, and it's just like, well, what are we doing with this guy? Like, what, why? You know, what's the deal here? It's like it kind of reminds me of Lauren Southern and how like she was like, oh, I'm a trad alt right kind of GF or whatever, and then she like gets with that like half black, half Indian or whatever he was, who was
Yeah,
a
I don't know what
literal,
the deal is with that.
yeah, he was like a literal federal informant, and then she had like a child with him, and then he says, "Oh no, I just did this because I'm an asset, I'm a spy asset," and get the scene, and then she's with this child, and then she comes back, and it's like, what are we doing here? You know, it's like there's so many. They've put out grifters like landmines. You know, even Jordan Peterson and well, there's so many people who are not advancing the cause of Western civilization, Christendom, and therefore white people. Uh, where is the they just do not talk about these things, and they certainly will not talk about what. I mean, Andrew Tate has been asked many times by many Groypers and many other people, well, what about this situation with the Israel lobby, what about that? And he will not. He totally bitches out, you know. He won't even say anything. He won't even say like, oh yeah, there's like he could say something completely neutral like, oh, they're they're very high up in the upper echelons, they use this to kind of skew their politics in America, or whatever. He could say it really neutral, but he just does not touch a subject. And it's only now that I think he's broaching it a little bit because of it's assumed a lot of popularity in the political space recently, uh, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's like I mean, this guy's just a giant homo basically.
that's
This
always
isn't
been the case. We even talked about how he loves like trannies so much.
really okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
about that.
well, he's talking about like, oh, if the tranny looks like a woman and they've got nice like fake tits, it's not gay. He's like said stuff like that before.
What? Okay, I have not seen that. Yeah, okay, so this guy really is like this guy really is just like a like 80 IQ 14-year-old or
Yeah,
something like
it's
that.
stupid.
Like yeah, it's like we don't want young men to be looking up to like to me that this is not a masculine man. And like when I think of a masculine man, I think of people like George
Family men. Yeah.
Washington. Yeah,
The
yeah,
men of
yeah, yeah,
history,
or
family
family.
men. Most men of history were family men. So
Yeah.
family, had a family, had some sort of position of
Mm,
strength or
mm,
position of power that they were able to achieve,
yeah, yeah,
status, that sort of thing. Not like a weird, pimp.
yeah,
I mean,
and
pimps for a reason haven't really been looked particularly well on society because they exploit women, poor women, women with poor outlooks in life or little opportunity.
mental
Yeah,
problems,
mental problems. I mean, that's what pimps have
issues.
done for centuries, and Andrew
Yeah.
Tate's no different.
Yeah, just like, one group of people we knew, they live off, they sort of thrive off the worst aspects of humanity that they can sort of emphasize in that person, and
Yeah,
then use that to further their own aims through blackmailing them. and that's exactly, he has that sort of very Jayish trait about him. I mean, it's, when I look at Tate, it's kind of like he's someone who's like trying to be a man, like, you know, like what they put in front of kids, like a cartoon of
Yeah, that's
like
basically what he is.
he's like trying to be, oh, a man has big muscles, or a man is rude. It's kind of like what like feminists think men are. Like they stereotype
Yeah,
men as like
yeah.
rude, vulgar, and like, ah, just, you know, just a dumb creature who's just, yeah. It's like
Well,
this
he's
is
pretty
not
dumb.
a,
That's like a thing.
yeah.
He's
I mean,
manipulative, but he's not actually that smart. Like,
no, he's not smart at all. I mean, you just look at that. There's that photo of him with where he's like cross-eyed. Have you seen that
yeah,
photo?
I've seen that one.
Yeah, he's like, he looks. He's, yeah. This is not a smart person at all. You know, he can talk a lot of shit, but that doesn't mean you're smart at all.
Yeah, we got
And
Bruce.
basic
Oh, sorry,
things.
I was just going to
Yeah,
read a
yeah.
couple of chats. Brucey in chat says, I think Tate is shook on how he's acting right now. Maybe he took Bronze Age perverts threats to heart. BAP threatened using his Jewish deep state Romanian connections to destroy Tate. Yeah, actually, I forgot about that. You got Bronze Age pervert saying, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm a Romanian Jew. If you
Yeah.
if you keep acting retarded and or get out of line anymore, we're going to arrest you again, and you're not getting off this time." I don't know if that's actually like going to happen, but it's interesting to see that development, and it wasn't a development I would have expected.
What happened exactly? Sorry.
So Bronze Age pervert or whatever his name is, he's got, you know,
Yeah, BAP.
Romanian name, BAP. He basically said that if Andrew doesn't like shut up about, like, if he starts criticizing Israel or something like that,
Mm,
or is just be so retarded that it basically pushes people away from him into actually like genuine right-wing figures or figureheads and
mm.
towards genuine right-wing ideals, that he would basically put the word out and he would be arrested again in Romania. So
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Okay. So that's like blackmail on blackmail,
the
really.
response to the tweet you have on screen. Oh, where is it? Where's the response from page per name was? I forgot.
Yeah.
Can't find it.
He's
Well,
taking,
there's the
he's
thing.
like,
There's the cross-eyed thing you're talking about.
yeah, I actually have someone who looks really similar in comparison. I'll try and share that with
I
you
can't
really.
find it. Apparently, Bronze Age pervert responded to it, threatening he would get him arrested.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, like a good thing to share would be I'll post it in the other chat. He kind of looks like that. I don't know if you could get that up, but
Yeah.
it's okay if you can't. But
Well,
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to read some chats. You got Nsat saying Andrew Tate doesn't have a culture, language, or nationality. He's a mongrel, rootless individual. Oh, that's exactly right. He's basically the definition of, you know, a mongrel,
Yeah.
liberal mutt that, you know,
Yeah, mentally ill mutt, you know, with
yeah,
no manners. Yeah.
that liberals and communists want like all of humanity to be. Like, that's pretty
Oh
much it.
gosh, that's really quite. When you put it that way, that's quite horrifying. You know, I mean, it's, yeah, horrifying enough as it is, but yeah, it's like Andrew Tate is the perfect reason why you shouldn't race mix, really, because you.
Yeah, you end up with weird Andrew Tates as your offspring.
Yeah.
But yeah, we said that. Yeah, I don't know where Bronze Age pervert's thread is.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was in response to the white people fricked tweet. It's not that important. I do remember seeing it though a couple days ago. I just don't have it on me right now.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we sort of covered our international topics. I guess we'll go to the New Zealand stuff now.
Mm.
So, as we've been covering on and off for the last couple of weeks, Newshub was shutting down, but now there's going to be a Stuff Newshub deal where Stuff is going to start their own sort of brand. I think that, I don't know what the actual deal is, but they're buying the Newshub brand. They're going to start their own 6 p.m. news show. I don't know if it's actually going to be televised on like TV3. This makes it seem like it will be, but I'm not sure. It might just be digital only, which is probably the smarter thing to do. But I sort of hope they don't do the smarter thing. Oh, Gil left us a second, but I'll continue. So, too right. Well, anyways, so Stuff's going to buy the Newshub brand and they're starting their own daily news show. It's going to be a lot. Oh, you're back.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going.
So I didn't really say too much before during the time you're gone, but they're going to start their own news show using the brand. It's going to be a lot less staff. They're going down from 300 staff that they currently have now working at Newshub to 15, so it's still a 95% decrease in the amount of staff as they have. It's probably the smarter way to do it, really, because it really was too bloated. But we'll see what happens. It's going to cost stuff a lot of money. Hopefully it's not financially successful, and hopefully this flounders as bad as Newshub is now, and then it can bring down stuff as well.
Yeah. No, I think this is just going to be an ongoing trend of, what's to happen. I mean, they can kind of adapt, through doing more online stuff, as they said, which I think they want to do. But even then, like, the legacy dinosaur media is dying because it's not so much that it's not adapting to new mediums and new devices that people are using, but it's more to do with the fact that people watch it and go, well, this is just crap, I'm a person of intelligence. I can, learn, I can listen to a lot more than just the little bites of information that they give me, and it's all just nonsense. It doesn't give anybody any reassurance of anything when they listen to it. So I mean that's the main. And of course they can't really do that because give people any more than they're already given, because their whole purpose is disinformation, is to lie to the people to get them to do what these communist Shaboscois really want the New Zealand people to do. And this is the same trend we've seen across the world. Cueing this is a incredibly dangerous threat to our democracy. That video.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just reading through the article, skimming through it. So the stuff's version of Newshub will be a lot smaller. I guess it probably has to be a lot smaller because it's actually ridiculous that 300 people used to work for that, like Newshub. It's actually nuts. Like 300
what were
people.
they doing?
Well, I mean, you've got editors, film,
sure,
camera crew, but they, reporters, all that sort of thing, and editors, producers, but it's still too big. But hopefully this is not financially successful for Stuff either, and the entire Stuff brand will go under, although that's probably unlikely, because I was talking to you about this before off stream before we started. Most of Stuff's revenue is actually from newspapers. They own most of the region. They own most of the country's regional newspapers, except for like a couple. Maybe I think like Otago and one of the ones in the Waikato aren't owned by Stuff, but well over 90% of the newspapers in New Zealand are owned by Stuff.
Wow, that's weird. Okay. Interesting. So they get their revenue from newspapers. Interesting.
Yeah,
people will. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I don't think they get much of their revenue from the actual online stuff.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. They're looking for a service provider.
So yeah, it's strange. Hopefully this sort of isn't. Hopefully this can take Stuff down, but Stuff, because they are, they actually get their revenue from newspaper subscriptions, they are actually more shielded against like the trend of people not going to these online news sites and actually interacting with these advertisers. But again, the only people that read newspapers are like 60-year-old boomers, so that's gonna dry out eventually.
Yeah, no, certainly. Yeah, like what is it? Most people get their news from TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah. Well, I think we said it
Twitter.
before. Like, epic people get their news from like Telegram and Twitter.
Yeah.
Like retards get their news from like Reddit and TikTok, and like normies get their news from like YouTube. So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. But there are some good news websites out there. Natural News is a good one. Zero Hedge.
Yeah, I mean none of them are really New Zealand focused, but
no, yeah, that's true.
But I mean there are good ones. Like Zero Hedge is pretty good.
Yeah. They do make some mention of New Zealand, but also that one that Sky News Australia, I think it is. Do you know that one?
Yeah, well that's in Australia though. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Skyros.
Okay. Yeah. True. I guess they're one of the closer things that would. Yeah. But they've actually been pretty good from. Well, I don't
Well, they're
know
better
about
than
with.
like Newshub. They're sort of like a normie, maybe like slightly
Yeah.
right-wing normie
Yeah.
news outlet. It's just sort of different because you don't even have anything like that in New Zealand. It's all just like
Yeah.
all the news outlets here are just libtard garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Pure garbage. Pure
Especially the online stuff. The local ones are actually a bit better, but that's because local journalists don't have. Usually, sometimes they do. They're not, the university libtards, but I guess actually some of them sort of are. So that's actually not even true. Let's read a couple of chats. Jason Walker says all white women in Europe with non-white men should be deported and banned from Europe. Well, yeah, they can go with them when we deport
Yeah.
whites. Why not?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And same with also the white
well,
men. The white men in
yeah.
race mix as well can also go back.
Go back. Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah. Any race mixers can just.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Shiv says, Bruce, what's your view on the trad thing? And then Bruce says, I'm not personally the most trad person myself, but I think it's better if most people in society are. Well, it depends what you mean by trad, like what that actually means. But obviously, like our
Yeah.
individualistic, hedonistic society isn't something you should strive to emulate or be a part of. You should actively reject it. And
Yeah.
Jason Walker says, boomers are based, NZ first voters. Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably the best thing about them. I actually don't think, I think they did a poll recently, and it wasn't actually that big of a difference between young people and old people that voted New Zealand first. I mean, and there was a lot less young people that voted like Labour and National, but younger people tended to vote more towards like Greens, unfortunately,
God.
ACT and New Zealand First, much more than like older people.
Yeah, yeah. No, that Greens that's a big problem.
I think
I don't know.
actually, I think in the survey I saw, I don't have it with me, but in the age bracket between 35 and 18, it was actually more popular for young voters to vote for Greens than Labour. So it's sort of
Wow.
nuts the amount of people that actually like the Greens, like despite obviously how retarded they are, especially in the last 6 months. With you had Golres, you have Schwarbrick, you have the guy that like got the vaccine and died a couple months ago. You've had all sorts of weird stuff going on with the Greens. It's been pretty ridiculous, but for some reason, just because I don't know, they want to give away free money, that all these like young retards vote for them for some reason.
Yeah. Also, I think there is a level of hystericism, histrionics, excuse me, that kind of does permeate a subsect of the younger population where there's this climate change hysteria.
Oh
And
yeah,
some of them
crap.
people are genuinely like freaked out about it. That like AOC says like, oh, and like what was it, like 10 years or something where we're all going to be underwater?
They've been saying 10 years for like the last 50 years about climate change.
Yeah, well, Al Gore said that like 25 years ago. Like it's like he said that the ice caps will be fully melted by now. And it's like, well, everything's still here, It's like,
Hasn't really changed that much, has it?
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't think the water, even if it does increase, if it increases by like half a meter, global average isn't really going to affect that many people.
And even if there are things that happen that really.
Well, I mean, you can have like a massive volcano erupt, and then the temperatures already go down by like 2 degrees for 10 years. So
yeah,
temperature changes. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and you just got to adapt, just like nature has. And we should have systems in place that, for these scenarios that occur, we prepare for them and we try to do what we can to protect the environment. But, even if we do everything that we can to make everything electric, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Even if that were a solution, it doesn't even really matter because the Russians and the Chinese are churning out coal and lignite and oil and all the stuff that they're just pumping it out, So
Yeah,
it's like
well, that's
even
the
if we
thing.
do,
The
yeah,
West is like, on average, it's making way and way. It's the amount of fossil fuel emissions is down by like, I don't know, nearly half than it was in the peak in the late 90s because of more efficient technology, increased amount of renewable energy, more efficient cars, that sort of thing. Not steady population growth. While, obviously China, they just keep building more and more factories and power plants and more roads and building more cars. So not even really our problem now. I mean, the West is already pretty sustainable in its energy production. I mean, New Zealand's already well over 80%, if not like closer to 90, renewable energy generation. It's been like that for the last 100 years because we use hydroelectric power mostly, and we still do. So we're already we already have sustainable green power in New Zealand, and we always have. This like climate stuff is just a bunch of crap. Like,
yeah. Well, it's deindustrializing the West
Yeah.
and subsequently demilitarizing the West as a result, and causing problems in the economy. So we're severely weakened because of this agenda. Well, one of the main adherents, or the main propagators of this kind of ideology, is Green Cross International, founded
Green
by
Cross,
former
really?
Soviet. Yeah,
Something
Green Cross International, founded by former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev in 1993. So
really makes you
that's
think.
yeah, it's headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, by Mikhail Gorbachev. So that's they really have an incentive to do this, and subsequently a lot of these green political parties across the West, they all have like communist Marxist kind of ideas and
Yeah, which is
policies
insane because the Soviet Union absolutely devastated their environment in like an attempt to catch up to the West industrially.
Yeah, it still is. They still don't give a crap. Yeah, there's all kinds of problems with it, and yeah.
I'll just read a couple chats. Brucey, oh no, I've already read that one. Shiv says, "Green, we hate nuclear." Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. In Germany, literally, the Green Party were the one pushing for the shutting down of these nuclear power plants, and because of that, they had to reopen all these gas power plants and coal power plants.
Yeah,
like just complete ridiculousness. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
GIA says, "Lol, suffer Vaxi." Yeah, well, that's what happened to that Green MP that just fell over dead 2 months ago. What's that guy's name again? He's had some weird like island.
Ephiso Collins.
Yeah, Ephiso Collins. He's like,
but his real name was like Ephiso Banana.
Yeah, it was. He had some like weird islander name.
Yeah.
And Shiv says, "No, my ice caps. How will I drink my beer?" It's impossible. It's impossible, dude.
These commenters are always really good, man. I really like their input.
Yeah. And then on the Rumble, oh sorry, you go.
Yeah, no, go.
I just said in the Rumble chat we've got Jupiter saying, "Where could you even buy a stuffed newspaper from? Is it sold under a different name?" Well, they own all the regional newspapers, so if you go down to basically any sort of news, it depends if you still have news agents. Like news agents will sell them. The post shop will sell them, or you just subscribe and they deliver it to your house. Like Stuff owns 90% of the regional newspapers, no matter what they're called. I can just look some up now. Stuff newspapers, and I bet you every single regional newspaper, except for
Otago Daily Times.
No, Otago Daily Times isn't actually owned by Stuff. They're like one of the notable ones that isn't.
Okay. Oh, wow. Amazing. I wonder how that works. Maybe whoever they're owned by, maybe we should get them to do a Endeavour newspaper. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But no, Otago Daily Times is actually one of the ones that aren't actually owned by Stuff. Yeah, they own the Auckland City News, they own the Bay Chronicles, they own the the Hutt News, they own the Upper Hutt Leader, they own the Wairarapa News, the Wellingtonian News, the Hamilton Press, Franklin County News. Oh, actually, I'll just bring it up on screen because then you can actually see it.
Yeah.
So they own all these, like a whole bunch of them.
Oh shoot! Look at this. Horu Whenua Mail.
The Timaru Times, Timaru Herald, the Nelson Mail. But yeah, the Otago Daily Times is actually one of the notable ones that isn't owned by Stuff.
Interesting. Are there any others? Or...
there are a couple others, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. But Otago Daily Times is actually probably one of the better ones, and that's probably because they're not owned by Stuff, that they're actually somewhat okay.
Yeah, I wonder who they're owned by, or I wonder how many others there are. Like, that'd be interesting.
Owned by Allied Press, who I believe is owned by
Kerry Bolton.
It's owned by the Julian Stanley Smith, whoever this guy is. This is the guy that owns the Otago Daily Times.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Fella.
Okay. Well, what's this guy's deal? Okay, New Zealand businessman, publisher. Okay, career. Evening Star. So literally, his life has just been about the news.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's all right.
So yeah, Stuffs owns all these newspapers, which are like most of the regional newspapers in New Zealand.
Well, there you go. I mean, that says it all. I mean, if people try to talk to you about a free and fair press,
Yeah, that's all owned by Stuff.
Yeah, you can just say that to them and
Taupo Times, South Waikato News.
Taupo Times. Yes, it's very
the Southland
cold here,
Times, the Sunday Times.
We
the
live in a
Sunday
big
Star,
lake.
Timaru, Nelson, like Marlborough Express, like all over the country. They own all these regional ones, except Otago Daily Times.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, there you go. That's so we really are dominated by Stuff.
Yeah, it's actually sort of insane if the extent we are dominated by Stuff.
Yeah, so people got to be aware of that. Yeah, but hey, you heard it here first.
Yeah, well, I think other people have realized this to be fair. But yeah, so Stuff is basically it's monolithic on the newspaper side of things. But anyway,
but we're a free and fair democracy, though. Yeah.
Yeah, we're free. We have a free and fair media, even though 90% of the local newspapers are owned by Stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess we'll move on from there. Today, I guess this is some white pill, or semi-white pill. It's Brian Tamaki. You got to take the good with the very bad with Tamaki.
Yeah.
So, Tamaki did some protest. He went to some tranny thing. Oh, whoops, sorry. Let me share my screen with Gil. There we go.
Yeah.
He did some protest, leave our kids alone, about trannies, going to public libraries and trying to groom kids. Pretty crazy stuff going on. They had some event. A bunch of people, the weather was a bit gloomy, but that's all right. Fair amount of people showed up, so it's a fairly successful protest.
That's good. They managed to shut down the whole place, and look, that's at least 100 people.
Destiny Hucker for the Jews, says Esnat. Well, that's why I said you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
He's still doing Huckers for Israel, but at least he's going to these tranny library events and shutting them down, which he has actually successfully done a couple of times at this point.
And who knows, guys? I mean, if we bomb his Twitter with quote unquote anti-Semitic stuff, then who knows? Who knows? Maybe. I won't even say that. If we show him the truth about Israel and the Jews, then
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, but hopefully
it'll at least get his followers thinking.
Yeah,
genuinely do.
That's a good point.
Think. Yeah, I mean, if not him, he certainly has to toe a certain line. It seems, but at least his followers will go. Wait, what? Israelis, they spit on Christians? It's an age-old custom. What the heck? I've never seen this before. Because quite frankly, a lot of people don't get this news, and I think that's why a lot of people
surprising amount of people don't even know this. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but at least he's doing this, and he's been good on COVID. He's done. Yeah, sometimes in life you just got to take the good with the bad. And look, it doesn't mean that we can't change his followers, and this is an opportunity to recognize. Okay, look, this is a bad thing, but we can fix it. And it's just what we have to do. That's why we're here. Yeah, no to RC. So that's what does that stand for? RC, something like
tranny crap, really.
Yeah, it's just tranny indoctrination.
I don't know what the acronym actually stands for.
Yeah, I think some of it entails in a video. If you go onto his page,
I think it's something sexual education. I don't know what the R stands for.
Yeah,
retarded, probably.
Retarded sexual education. That's good. You should comment that. Stop retarded sexual education. You should post that now live. But yeah, if you go into his thing, he actually, there's a video of him explaining about it that in New Zealand. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you've got it up. If you keep scrolling down, I think Oh yeah, it's this one that's playing in front of
Relationships.
you.
I don't know.
Oh, relationships and sexuality.
I like my acronym better.
Yeah. Retarded. Well, that's what it really
Retarded
is, isn't
sexual
it?
education. Yeah. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah.
Because this is what I'm talking about right now. Yesterday, late afternoon, came out a feature article in the New Zealand Herald, I think it was, or one of the mainstream media, and I just want to take a portion of what this article was about. It talked about Oranga Tamariki, that they will now do emotional well-being checks on your child if they think that the parents are resisting their child being gay or that they are involved in gender transitioning. They will come and visit you. They basically said this, and they said this, quote, we will come knocking on your door if parents refuse to let their children change their gender.
Come on. Let's go, Apostle.
See, it's happening here.
Yeah, well, it's already happened in like the UK. So what happens in the UK and America is usually comes here eventually.
Encroachment and invasion of the state government into the very homes, New Zealand families, and now without any regard to parents.
Come on.
What their consent is for a start, and having their children secretly at schools, and this is why we stood yesterday.
Well, that's why you don't send your kids to public schools. Like, that should be like your number one priority as a parent, is to not send your kid to public school at this point.
Yeah. And they'll be better off for it.
Oh, they'll be smarter, better socialized, not like indoctrinated into like liberal, made-up ideology.
That the state, through one of their agencies, departments, has now declared that they will make checks on you if they're even suspicious, or these kids tell their teachers, or that organisation that's the transgender, the LGBTQI, if they hear that these kids in some way have been pressured by their parents to not gender, then they're coming to visit you. And
that's ridiculous. That's so crazy.
It's their measure of well-being. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about emotional well-being. Emotional well-being. So if they detect that the emotional well-being of...
Well, there you go. I mean, we sort of got to the point there. He sort of started repeating himself a little bit.
Yeah. That's kind of the main point. But isn't that crazy? Like literal Stasi level kind of just indoctrination and, government interference in the home.
Well, that's the point of the state, right? With the communism and liberalism, the state's meant to take the role of the provider, of like the parent, of the family. Yeah. Everyone's meant to be interchangeable labor with no like culture, language, tastes, heritage. Everyone's just meant to be like interchangeable brown labor in a communist liberal system, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and that forwards them down that route if you do begin to muck with them, because kids are so impressionable, and you punish them. Yeah. So and they've tried to do that before. Tried to do it in Germany and
Germany, California, the UK.
It's happening right now. They have like old like ladies and other weirdos that will come. I've seen videos of them knocking on the doors of people like after school hours, like on the weekends, and they're saying like, "Oh, I heard like you're not teaching Stacy or Greta, you're not allowing her to express her rainbow feelings, or some kind of crap like that," and like. That they have this long argument, and I should actually share that video on the Telegram page or on Twitter, because
it sounds like an important one. If you could find it.
It's weird that they're in the UK. They're actually sending these people out to like argue with parents and stuff. So yeah, that's good on Tamaki for. Good on Brian for that.
Yeah, well, that's. I was just about to read a chat, and Nesset says, "Nah, shout out for these N words at Destiny for putting pressure on these puffs." That's a good. That's yeah, exactly. You can disparage
Yeah,
him for doing huckers for Israel and being, sort of retarded
yeah,
in some other ways. But yeah, at least they're like, you can't really argue with results like that. If you get like,
yeah.
100 random Maoris to show up to these like tranny events, then yeah, it's an improvement
Yeah,
to try
no,
to
and
stop them.
I hope
Yeah.
he keeps going. In this regard, I honestly wish him all the best because this is becoming its own sort of like a mafia block of power, where it's like it's becoming like
Oh,
a
it
real
totally is.
problem.
It totally is
Yeah.
becoming a like power block because at the end of the day, like trannies are just white men at the end of the day, so they're going to be somewhat competent at what they do. Like, if they're if they're in these positions of power, they're going to be somewhat competent. They're going to be more competent than like all these weird like diversity DEI or whatever you want to call them these days
Mhm,
hires. So they are going to be somewhat competent. So once you get these people in their like gilded change of like middle management in the
mhm,
like bureaucratic system,
mhm.
they do need to be like rooted out, and they need to be sort of rooted out now before they become more of a problem.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Well,
I'm sure.
but that's the thing. Like trannies are the perfect Shabos goy. Like
Mm,
they're literally infertile because they sterilize themselves.
mhm.
They they're so out of touch with reality they deny their own gender. So
Yeah.
like they're not going to believe like any sort of reality based takes around the culture, religion, the state,
Mm. Genetics,
well-being, genetics, that sort of thing. So
biology.
they're
Yeah.
about as much out of touch with reality as they can be. And
Mm,
they're the perfect worker bees because they're never going to have family, they're never going to have kids. They're probably already like half of their family already probably hates them. So
mm.
they're the perfect Shabos Goyim for the state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's it's a terrible thing. It's incredibly sad, but yeah. So I'm glad someone's contesting this and actually making a really big stink because this is becoming its own ugly Hydra head that it's like we can't contest. Like I remember Hector and when you and I were a lot younger. I remember a discussion of this in New Zealand and in Australia as well. Like I think it was Turnbull or someone else said, if we, allow this like gay marriage thing to go through, um, we're basically going to be paying for it, and this is going to open the floodgates to all kinds of, perversion and weird stuff and crap. And
Yeah.
at the time, people were like, it was kind of mixed from what I remember as a kid. People were saying, yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point, and some people were like, ah, I don't
Oh
really
no, that's
know,
not true. Oh,
who
that's not
knows.
going to happen. Blah blah blah. Yeah, gays
Yeah,
just want
because they,
to
they
get
just don't
married or
have any
something.
sort
Blah blah
of
blah.
historical, you know, or precedent or experience with these kinds of things. I guess so. They just go, "Oh, I don't know if that I don't know what he's talking about or whatever." And you fast forward like whenever that was, like I guess that would have been maybe just a couple of like 15, 20 years or so, maybe. I can't exactly, but probably more than that. It was when I was a kid, I remember. And I mean, the man who said that was absolutely right. And I mean, look where we are now. There's people with all kinds of mental problems and, perversion issues. We've seen all these sort of like almost like groups who are defined around a sexual perversion, like these underground cults almost, you know, like furries, like what the hell is up with that? And that's how they build their whole identity around that. So it's like the this is and these people are when they're out of a costume. A furry costume or a woman's dress, they're teaching your kids at school, they're um I don't know, they're at your pack and save or wherever, places where you take your kids, you know it's like I don't know how else to illustrate this anymore, but it's like, for crying out loud, stay stay around your kids, homeschool your kids. I mean, this is the only effective way I can think of personally that you
Yeah.
can protect your children and you just try and counteract this ideology that's permeating mainstream society. How crazy is that? I mean, it is really
Yeah, I mean, it's not the early
such a big
2000s
problem.
anymore. This isn't just like an internet thing where all the trannies were on like Tumblr or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like it's propagated in like the worst way possible into mainstream society
Into
over the
government
last up to like
and
governmental media,
academia.
governmental levels. I mean, it's
Yeah.
always sort of been in academia. That's actually where it started, to be
Oh,
fair.
right.
But
Yeah,
it's gone
true.
in terms of government and society. It has unfortunately reared its ugly head and needs to be put down.
Yeah, this was a huge mistake, and I can't believe people just lit this through because I mean,
Sleptwalked into it, really.
yeah, because you'd think everybody kind of knows that these kinds of people. I mean, it is synonymous with pedophilia, you know, and all
Well, that's the
kinds of
thing. A
weird
lot of the earliest, queer advocates or whatever, like openly
Harvey
advocated.
Milk.
Yeah, they all advocated for, open pedophilia and how it was, it's no different than being a homosexual.
Yeah, no, they were quite aggressive for it, and yeah, a lot of them, and this is a problem with I think why we see it coming from that particular Jewish community is because we heard that Vice News article about the assembly lines, the that rabbi talked about. I don't want to say it, but because it's a bit dark, but yeah, where he basically talked about the huge pedophilia problem they had in the shuls, and as such, the it's normalized. It's it doesn't get out, and some of their biggest promoters are the who's, and
Yeah.
that's kind of besides the point. But I just throw that out there, and yeah, that's a real issue, and yeah, no, it has to be stopped. It's just simple. So yeah, that Brian Tamaki is leading the way on this is a really good thing.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, others will join in as it becomes more and more visible. But anyways, I'll read a couple of chats. We'll catch up on that. Jason Walker says, "Are you guys going to make a Kerry Bolton as a guest on a future episodes?" I mean, we've reached out to him, but Kerry said he wasn't interested, so that's on Kerry. Brucey Kibbett says, "I have some absolute keynote footage of a Jew in Tel Aviv getting Bede talking about smoking crack with US aid money." I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Bede.
Oh, is that like
baked? I don't know what. I actually don't know what you're actually trying to say there. And he was and spitting while talking about it, how the Goyim need to serve him. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll show it to you some other time.
Okay.
NZ Nat says, "Preach, brother." And then Brucey says, "Unix getting into political intrigue isn't just Game of Thrones thing." Well, it's been like that for a while. I mean, Unix basically overthrew the Sassanid Empire through the amount of it actually collapsed after all these eunuchs kept like trying to assassinate the emperors and their entourage. It's happened before, like
what, like eunuchs being
like the
place of trannies, or
well, eunuchs are trannies. I mean, they're like
right,
they're nuded people that are meant to work in these political advisory roles. But
right.
I believe
that's
was
interesting.
Yeah, and it's not unheard of for them to actually try basically play politics to benefit themselves. So it's happened before. NZ Nat says John Money was shameful New Zealand pedo who invented the gender spectrum, assaulting two boys. Yeah, he did repopularize it. That is true.
Freaky. That is a thing of nightmares.
Oh, bombed. He says, getting bombed, probably because he's on YouTube. You can't say bombed. He's talking about, so Jew smoking crack, talking about, how Goyim need to serve him. Yeah, that makes sense.
We've seen videos like that. I don't know if I've seen that one, but yeah, they openly talk about this. Yeah.
And then Shiv says, "Yeah, Han Dynasty, Song, and the Ottomans all had coups by eunuchs." Yeah, exactly. It's not unheard of. I think the emperor of the Han Dynasty ended up like culling the 10,000, not 10,000, like 1,000 state eunuchs because after one tried to overthrow him, which is sort of funny. And then we got Jupiter on the Rumble chat saying, "Come on, anyone with $20 at KFC could get 100 Maori to turn up to one of these events. Just no one's ever tried before." Right. Well, maybe we'll try next time.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's how they always come out full force.
All right.
That's good.
Well,
That's
this is
really
the
good.
last topic we were planning to talk about, the public sector job cuts. So those that have been watching the news know we've talked about this before. The government's trying to reduce the amount of public spending in the public sector by 6.5%. And roughly, where's the actual number? About 2,500 public sector workers are losing their job. It is what it is. I think it depends. 5,000, close to 5,000. So quite a lot.
Damn.
So we've got 63,117 full-time workers in the public service, which is pretty bloody big. Yeah, it says right there, an increase of 50,000 since the John Key Bill English era. So you're looking at 20%, over 20% increase in the amount of people that were employed in the public sector, despite the public sector being as inefficient and useless as it's ever been. And they're culling, like not even half of these new jobs. So a lot of these new jobs, they were like actual like co-governance grift jobs, like treaty advisors, nonsense like that, like diversity advisors, cultural advisors, nonsense, non-existent jobs. Just bureaucrats getting paid $100,000 a year to do nothing.
That's
Or like
amazing.
whine about how like white people are mean to them. These jobs are just a lot of these jobs are just complete nonsense. So 5,000 people are losing their jobs, including the Ministry for Children, whatever the Maori name for that is, the Ministry of Education, and a few other ministries. Ministry of Health. So hopefully it's just like these like grifter Maori jobs where it's like, oh, I'm a cultural advisor. Pay me $150,000 a year, and I'll teach you how to say Kia ora or something. That's pretty much. That's literally like that's not far off what the jobs actually do. Like these are nonsense like bullshit jobs that don't even benefit the public sector or society whatsoever.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? How a cultural why if you're like a organization, why do you need like a cultural? Why is that even needed? It doesn't serve any purpose. In the I guess if you're trying to make a gay, global, homo, multi-culti society, you need.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, to serve that end, I suppose. But yeah, that's totally ridiculous. So 268 of its 6.5.
Yeah, these are just going over the different ministries. Ministry of Health. What is this one?
Okay.
What is it? MBIE, Ministry of something, Business and Innovation, I think. Yeah. Primary, like, what does the Ministry of Business and Innovation even do? Like, Ministry for Primary Industries. Why do you need so much people working in these like ministries that honestly probably shouldn't even exist? Like, it's just total bloat. It's just like government bloat that shouldn't even exist. Like, Ministry for Ethnic Communities, Department of Internal Affairs. To be fair, you probably do need that. Ministry for Pacific Peoples. Like, what are these? Like, why do you need these at all?
Oh, yep, we need a 50% increase in KFC. And a 50% increase in the benefit, eh?
Yeah, that's pretty much actually probably all they do.
Shit.
Ministry for the Environment. Yeah, you probably need that. Transport Ministry. Yeah, you probably need that. I mean, some of these ministries shouldn't even exist, and the ones that do exist, I bet these roles are just like nonsense roles.
Yeah, it seems like, which is probably why they're being cut, right? I mean, what does it say? Why? What do they say is the reason why they're being cut? Does it give any reason? Is it just economic?
They haven't really said. I mean, it's just because the national government said that they need to, cut back on government bloat by 7%. And so they've they basically fired 7% of their workforce. So I guess that sort of works out. But I mean, it would be good to see some like actual efficiency changes in the public sector, but I don't think that's ever going to happen unless like you have like someone that is really pushing it, and the National Party isn't going to do that. So they're just going to slightly de-size, maybe get rid of these like diversity hire jobs. I mean, they should be, honestly, like the Ministry of Pacific Peoples just should be disbanded. Same with the Ministry of Ethnic Communities.
Dissolve it altogether.
Yeah. You probably don't need a Ministry for Primary Industries. You don't need a Ministry of Ethnic Communities. You don't need a Ministry for Pacific Peoples.
Yeah.
Why?
No, yeah. Ministry for Culture.
Why is there a Department of Conservation and a Department of like Environment? Like, why do you need both of those? Why
Yeah.
can't that just be one ministry? Like Ministry
Yeah,
for the
that's cool.
Environment, then the Department of Conservation. Shouldn't that just sort of be the same thing?
Yeah, I don't really see what the difference would be. Yeah. Orangatamaraki. That's
WorkSafe.
the one.
WorkSafe is just like a grift. Like
Mm.
WorkSafe is pretty nonsense.
Mhm.
NZ Stats, like what does NZ Stats do all day? Like why do they need hundreds of full-time staff at this department?
Mm.
Is it really that hard to take the census data and like run it through some algorithms? Like it probably isn't.
Yeah, no. You don't even probably need to be that much of a statistician. You just click the button, you
Yeah.
take the file, put it in the application, click the button, and yeah.
Well, that's what it should. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they don't even have that. Like, it might not even function like that as it should. But yeah, there's been public sector cuts, quite fairly large, but I honestly say not large enough. We need
Yeah.
to.
I like what you said about, National Act aren't really gonna. They talk a big game, but they like the way things are. They
Yeah.
like it. They're from it. They're of the system. There's no difference. They're gonna, as you say, they're just gonna cut back a little bit. But then, I mean, look at Nicola Willis. Is that really someone you really trust?
No.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, like yeah. Anyway, enough about her. I like to see her in a cage fight with Chloe, though. That would be entertaining. But I think that's actually what should happen. If you're a woman in politics, you should go into a UFC match, like a ranked UFC match with other women politicians, and you have to beat them all and get to the top if you really want to be a politician in New Zealand. But that's just my idea. But probably some of you agree. Give a Y in the chat if you agree, or an N if the track if you don't agree, or 1 if you agree, 2 if you disagree. Let us know. But I think that's how it should be done. But and maybe there should be a ministry for that. I don't know, or maybe it should come under Crown law.
Yeah, there should. It should. There should be the ministry for gladiatorial combat. That's actually a ministry we need. Get rid of the ethnic communities ministry. We need the ministry for gladiatorial combat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, or maybe the ministry for ethnic communities could be that we just like import them over here, and like these sort of like domes or bubbles. You know how like you see those World Star hip hop videos like of Disney World, where those black families will like just run into each other and they'll just start randomly punching each other and beating each other.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, like they'll be outside of
yeah, that was crazy. I remember
Toontown
one of
or
those
something.
videos. Yeah,
Yeah, we should play a few of those sometimes. But yeah, that's what the Ministry of Ethnic Communities should be like. We just have like a dome where we like put them all in, like in Rainbow's End or something, and then we just like set cameras up like to and we'll have our own like World Star hip hop, and we'll just watch the fun happen. And that way, that is how you will boost NZ media. Is like that's real entertainment,
Exactly.
Just some thoughts, fellas.
Shiv in chat says you could make a Maori army and protest anyone, and if you wait, you can make an Maori army and protest if anyone questions you. You can claim racism against Maori. Exactly. I'll just bring 20 buckets of KFC. The rest should fall into place.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of the last. Oh no, wait, I got one more article. So here we go. So as the layoffs in the public sector are happening, New Zealand's in a recession. I don't know if you've heard that news. Here's actually the article. Yeah. This is somewhat old news, but I don't think we've actually talked about it. This is as of a couple months ago. New Zealand is officially in a recession. This article's a month old, but we never really said anything about it. So now you've got business analysts saying that you're potentially going to have tens of thousands of layoff in the private sector. I personally know some people in the private sector, and there are actually planned layoffs in some industries. I'll say that much. So it is actually, there is my own anecdotal evidence to say that something like this could happen. So you're going to have layoffs in the public sector, layoff in the private sector. Cost of living is still high, inflation's still up, and while that's all happening, we're in a recession. So
Yeah, yeah. No, we need to do something quickly. But I've seen it happen personally myself to other people, and it's pretty horrible. You know, people just lose their jobs, and it's pretty dramatic. But
Yeah, I mean, I've been through that process. I mean, it's part of like, especially in the private sector, it's just part of the you know, if you get made redundant, at least you get like a payout usually. So just look forward to your payout, and hopefully you should be able to find a new job. On that note, though, a lot of these bureaucrats that have nonsense bullshit jobs are probably going to have some trouble being the the cultural advisor to the Ministry of whatever affairs. I don't think they're probably going to have a hard time finding a new job. All these laid off journalists are probably going to have a hard time finding a new job. But if you actually have a skill that you can market, like you should be fine. You probably won't be laid off anyway. If you are, you usually can find a new job. I mean, if redundancies do happen, it's happened to me, and honestly, it wasn't that big a deal because I actually have marketable skills.
Yeah, exactly. Just be useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do something good with it. Do something with your life. Damn it. Don't be a KFC advisor or whatever. But
Speaking of that, Brucey says the KFC push. Yeah, we could do that. Instead of the March on Rome, we'll have the March on the Beehives, and we'll have like the people wielding the KFC buckets at the front. Like,
what the hell? They'll put like a treatise like on the wall of the beehive, the door of the beehive.
Yeah.
More KFC. Yeah.
So yeah, New Zealand's in a recession, unemployment's up. There's a projected, well, although this person's a business journalist, so who knows if like their expertise is that good. But yeah, anecdotally, there has been layoffs in the private sector that I have heard about. Yeah, NZ Snat says that the Beehive is an ugly building. I completely agree. It's a horrible looking building, and it should honestly be torn down. And we'll build like a new, neoclassical
yeah,
White House, or maybe not exactly like the White House, but like a neoclassical building in its wake. Something that actually looks good.
Yeah, I wonder who designed almost looks like kind of like a Israeli design, you know.
Yeah, it's some sort of it's like a brutalist architect. I mean, I could probably look it up.
Yeah, because it does kind of have that brutalist kind of modern alternative look about it. I know what you mean.
It was who was it designed by? Architect Basil Spence. So this is the guy.
Richard Spencer's cousin.
Yeah, it might be. Oh, it's Spence, not Spencer. So this is the guy that made the Beehive. Here you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, with the mustache. Okay, so let's see. Early life.
Early life.
Scottish architect. Okay, so he just.
Oh, he's born in Bombay. There you go.
What? Oh, there you go.
Doesn't say. Are you looking for early life? There is no early life. They took it out.
Yeah, what is this Scottish person doing being born in India?
A Control F Jew, there's nothing there. So there you go. Although if he's living in the British Raj, he's probably not Jewish. I don't know, maybe he is, I don't know.
Nah, okay, so he's just a guy with a funny taste and well look at the garage he made. So he made this?
Isn't that
That's just what?
Yeah, I don't know, it doesn't look very good, does it?
No, it just looks like something you'd see in the city. Okay.
He made this.
Whoa, what that's kind of different.
Isn't that in like is that the New Zealand one? Or...
No, it's German.
No, that's in Germany, never mind.
Okay. Yeah.
So he redesigned this. Yeah, this is meant to be a Catholic cathedral. It looks pretty bad.
What? Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, the Beehive is like the worst one he made. It's like some weird.
Okay, can we see the Beehive for a sec? So yeah, this is.
It's an ugly building. It's like a
looks
Dalek.
like an orc fortress, or like it looks like the start of Saruman's temple, like the base of it.
Yeah, it sort of does, eh?
Yeah,
I always thought it sort of looked like a Dalek or something. I don't know if that's what he was going for.
A what?
But from Doctor Who.
Oh, okay. Oh, those robot things.
Yeah, the robo things. It sort of looks like that.
Yeah.
It's an ugly building. I've never liked it. Ever since I was a kid, I thought it was ugly looking, even before I even cared about politics. I remember like asking my dad, I'm like, why does the Beehive look so crap compared to like the White House?
Why does it look so good? What did your dad say?
I think he just said, I had bad architect or something, so it's probably about right.
Oh yeah. So what else did he do? Is there more?
Oh, that looks horrible. That looks
What
even
the
worse
heck?
than the
What's this
Beehive.
guy's deal, man? Like he's like a low budget architect. Why is he
That's
making
Embassy of the United Kingdom in Rome. Imagine working at this weird.
what? Oh, that's creepy, man.
Yeah, this is
That
like.
looks like those Jeffrey Epstein kind of like Pizzagate,
Yeah.
like the paintings and stuff. Like I don't know if you know what I mean, but it has a similar kind of like creepy vibe to it, like that. But what was this guy's thinking? But what does it go on to say? Like his and there's just like a normal building, like his kind of looks like a mushroom.
Yeah, that's somewhat normal. I mean, that little mushroom on the top's pretty ugly, to be fair.
Even then, yeah, it's like it looks like
Like a dumbbell or
communist-
something. Yeah.
Yeah, like it looks like a communist sort of apartment or something like that in Russia. But so does it? What is this guy's art style? Like what is the? Does it say the unusual brilliance? Let's just do a quick scan.
Well, they say he's Art Deco, but I don't think what he does is Art Deco.
Yeah, it's what's Art Deco. So what? Yeah,
Regency.
Regency.
Nah,
That
that's not
doesn't
it.
look
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
not it.
Nah.
It's like his own bizarre, ugly-looking architecture. I thought it was sort of like brutalism, especially this. This is like brutalism architecture.
God, man, yeah, that's yeah. Jeez,
He says the garage looks like a Minecraft house. He says this looks like a Minecraft house.
He just he was actually way ahead of his time. We just didn't see it yet.
Yeah.
He was playing Minecraft before anyone else was in real life. Gosh, you know what? It does kind of look like something someone would do in Minecraft. Even the cathedral looks
Yeah, that
like
sort of looks like a Minecraft building, yeah.
yeah, like one of those
Especially-
hard out Minecraft people.
Yeah,
that,
especially like patterns like that. I've seen that in Minecraft before.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, right, exactly. Crazy.
But no,
man.
it just makes nothing but ugly buildings. This is like a weird looking like dumbbell or something. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange. I wonder what his deal was. What's this one? Famer House, Grade 1. Yeah.
That's sort of like a weird. That is kind of like a strange Art Deco look, but it's still not that good. It does look like a nice Art Deco building.
Yeah. You see a lot of these buildings in New Zealand. I've noticed. Like, I don't get what but it's kind of like a shapeless kind of mass of nothingness.
Yeah, yeah,
it's
they're
like
pretty common.
yeah.
Especially police stations. Like police stations are always like the most ugliest buildings possible. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Wonder why that is.
Yeah, but now the Beehive totally needs to be just completely torn down and something better should be built in its place because it is one ugly looking building.
Yeah. What did they have before? Because they didn't. When was the Beehive built?
It was an old hotel, wasn't it? It was like some Wellington hotel. I'll probably tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the old building. The old building's way better.
Holy crap! So
that's Parliament House. This was.
Oh, okay.
Wait, is
that
that actually where
looks
Parliament
way better.
was? Where was actual Parliament?
Parliament.
Yeah,
House.
it was. It used to be the debating chamber was in Parliament House, which is a way better looking building.
Yeah, that's actually nice. Yeah. Wow.
Compared to the Beehive, yeah.
Why the heck did they do that? That's weird. It's like trying to dominate or domineer over the neoclassical.
Well, that's sort of what it is. It's like you've got the brutalist, ugly Beehive dominating the old, neoclassical Parliament House.
Yeah, like a transition to something.
Well, that's actually what it represents. It's a transition to, brutal, like liberalism or something.
Yeah.
Brutal communism.
The Great Reset.
Yeah. Like
communism.
ugly society. That sort of actually sort of represents it pretty well. You've got something nice, beautiful, sort of pleasant to look at, and then like an ugly behemoth.
Yeah. Creepy. Yeah, I bet you that probably would have been part of their thought process, because that's what
Oh, it totally was. It was absolutely intentional.
Yeah, no, a lot of the stuff is intentional. They sit in boardrooms and meetings and go, "Oh, we want to make people feel like crap and feel bad about their lives." And when they look outside, all they see is ugliness and decay, and
Yeah,
then that's how we'll demoralize and dominate them. You know, ah, ha, ha. And then they'll all high five each other. You know, there's like lots of testimonies of people saying that's what these people
no,
are like.
architects are honestly some of the worst like human beings you could ever imagine. They basically want to like break down the human condition and make people like live in, literal pods and
Yeah.
like bug holes and ugly ass looking buildings because they want to be, I want to be as unique as possible, so I want to make the most ugly looking building possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I never understood the art side of art. Like I always thought architecture was like a practical thing. Like we need to
I mean,
yeah. Oh that yeah. That's got
it's maybe this is
yeah.
a little bit over the top, but that's still a nice-ish
Yeah.
looking building.
Yeah. Definitely a lot nicer than
The Beehive,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then what's this?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
okay.
That's like just some weird. I don't even know what you call this architecture. It's like 70s skyscraper architecture. I don't know what you'd call that.
Yeah. Weird, man. Weird.
But no, there is totally a thing to that. Architecture is ugly on purpose because the architects like tend to be like total like nihilists.
Yeah.
They hate society and they want to tear it down by making these ugly buildings for people to live and work in.
That's so weird. I wonder why that's particular to that sort of community. You know,
A
you
lot of
think,
them are
oh,
communists, so it sort of makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Weird. It's they want to be remembered, I guess, by something, but before they die, because they don't believe in God or anything. So and of course, they have nothing in their soul but ugliness. You know, that's kind of the people who are attracted to like communism. So it's yeah, just lies basically. So yeah, maybe don't be an architect, guys. No, we need all kinds of people.
Yeah, I mean, we do need architects, but
Yeah.
don't be a modernist, brutalist architect.
Yeah. Be a neoclassical.
Yeah, neoclassical is
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean, I like neoclassical. It's not too over the top like Art Deco, and it looks nice. So there you go. Even Art Deco looks better than neoclassical. But anyways, we've done our 30-minute section on architecture. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll read a couple chats, and we'll. I guess that'll be the end of the show.
Yeah, sure.
Brucey says, we're talking about, the public sector layoffs that were replaced by AI. Yeah, well, a lot of these people will be. We'll see.
Yeah, that's something to look out for, yeah.
Yeah, and then NZSNAT, I don't know, it's like NZSTNAT. I don't know how you say that. NSNAT. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. But
yeah.
he says, you're reading my mind. The old one looks way better, but it's very small. Well, that's the thing. You could just build. It is a small building, but you could just build a bigger building. It's not that small. I mean, you could have a debate chamber in here. Like you could easily do that. I mean, it obviously worked for about 70 years until they moved to the Beehive.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh yeah, I already read the My House one, and then NSNAT says the Beehive is communist, modernist, brutalist territory. Exactly. And then Shiv says it was the retarded leftist idea of simplicity. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's not even like simple. It's just ugly. I mean, it is sort of simple.
Yeah.
It's about the off angles and the use of like dull cement and ugly colors, muted colors, just ugly looking buildings.
Like you look at Japanese buildings and architecture, that's like simple and it's nice,
Yeah.
That's got the nice, simple, natural kind of organic look to it. But yeah, that this is like just weird.
Yeah, and then SNAT says it's the symbolic removal of traditional culture indeed. Architecture tangents go hard. Exactly. Well, I mean, it affects everyone. We all have to live somewhere, and you don't want to be living in and working in ugly, brutalist, brown, grey, communist buildings that hurt to look at. It's literally designed to be soul crushing. Like that's the whole point of brutalist architecture.
Yeah, they're really big on like the psychological. How are we they think of every way they possibly can to just try and crush down, the morale of people and the spirit of creativity and the spirit of being a human. You know, it's weirdos, man. I don't know what makes people. They've just removed the love of God from their life, and I don't know. Maybe they didn't have nice parents or something. Yeah.
Shivan's chat says India built a new parliament building, definitely better than Tan brutalist architecture. Well, brutalist architecture is literally the worst type of architecture you could like humanly conceived, and it's like that on purpose. So just is what it is. And then Nsnat says the beehive is an upside down KFC bucket. Oh shit! Have you heard about KFC in the beehive?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
And then Jupiter on the Rumble chat says anyone can get a job at KFC. Well, exactly. Maybe Patrick Gow will be working at KFC. Hopefully we see him there, and I can throw some like chicken wings at him or something. It's like, hey, you didn't fry my chicken properly, and start throwing chicken wings at Patrick Gower working at the checkout at KFC. That'd be pretty good.
That'd be good. That would be a favor to humanity.
Well, actually, I heard a story. You know how Jacinda, speaking of food fights, because Jacinda used to live in Mount Albert, right? There's a restaurant she used to go to, and she went there once with her husband, Mark Gayford or whatever his name is, and people actually started throwing like breadsticks at Jacinda while she was at this restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, because she's so hated. Like people were throwing like breadsticks at her.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. No one's really talked about it, but Jacinda like isn't even in the country anymore. She lives in like New York City now, like Helen Clark.
Wow.
She's doing all these shitty speaking tours at like United States libtard universities. She fled the country because she's so hated.
Yeah, that's that's good, man. Yeah, I heard that she has to like wear a mask around wherever she goes because when she goes to like appointments or something,
everyone just hates her. Everyone calls her a piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh well, that's good, but I feel sorry for people in New York. But it's kind of the perfect place for her in a way. But well, not to get down on people in New York, but yeah, there's got to be some. Well, we'll see. Well, I'll make my decision on the quality of New Yorkers would come November 5th, November 6th for us.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Speaking of that, yeah, we're going to be doing a lot. I mean, we've already sort of talked about it. On the actual election day, me and Gil are taking the day off work, and we'll be doing a live stream of the US election on November 6th. So be sure to tune into that. We'll be starting at around noon New Zealand time. But that's still, I don't know, like what, 4 months off. But we'll get there. The time will go. The time will go pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry about it, guys. Just letting you know, though, just something to prepare for, so you can take a day off work as well. Or, of course, if you have a government job, well, you don't have to do any work at all, and you can be at work and watch our show while we cover it. So, especially if you're a minister of Pacific communities or a minister of ethnic communities, feel free to do that also. But keep November 6th. And I guess November 7th free, if you don't have a government job, that is.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. We'll sign off here. We went on a big architectural tangent, but that was a good little talk anyway. Why not? I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next week, Saturday or Sunday. It depends on what our schedule's like. Hope everyone's had a great weekend, and I hope you have a great next week. And as always, hope everyone stays blessed, not stressed, and we'll catch you all next time.
See ya.